Athens is a quirky town, and the people that haven't hung out here don't really know that. You know, we've got a loop that goes around the city that's not really a loop. You know, you got to get off an exit to stay on it. We've got a lot of old rundown buildings. Athens is not this nice, new, shiny place. Athens is this place with like rich, deep character. And once you experience that culture that is Athens, man, you fall in love with it.
I would like to announce that we're going to do our second strategic partnership, and it's going to be in Athens, Georgia. And the person that we are going to look to head that up is our own Sean C.
One of the first decisions that we had to make once we had settled that Athens was going to be the place where we would start this church is, well, what are we going to name it? And we thought, well, we don't want to name it Downtown Church or East Side Church or Normal Town Church, because we were just crazy enough to believe and just crazy enough to dream that maybe God would do something that would in some way would impact the entire city. And what started as a dream has turned into a local church. And now that local church honestly feels more like a movement. And it feels like, man, God is doing something here that's way bigger than us. And we're just getting a chance to be a part of it right now. And so as we think about, you know, kind of staying focused on the mission of all the great things that we could do, there's so many great needs in this city. There's educational needs and political needs and poverty needs. And honestly, we can't take care of all of it. We can't fix them all. There's one need that we can help with, and that is we can help lead people to a personal, dynamic relationship with Jesus. And when that happens, it changes families, it changes communities, it changes schools, it can change everything. We love the expansive nature of what God's done here. We love that it's big because we want to impact a lot of people. But honestly, a big gathering in and of itself isn't very significant. It doesn't have a lot of value to it. As a matter of fact, I would say if it's just a big gathering, it's probably just a bunch of noise. But a big gathering that's made up of individuals who are personally encountering Christ, that has significant potential. And that's why we continue to celebrate our mission as individual stories of lives being changed.
You know, for me, I have always been the type to where I felt like I can do it all myself.
I really thought that the way I was doing life was the best, and that it didn't really matter what actually was happening as long as it looked like I had it all together.
I felt spiritually thirsty. I had developed somewhat of a faith over many years, but I had a lot of questions about who Jesus was, and frankly, I doubted whether or not he was the Messiah. But I felt really uncomfortable asking people about that. It didn't seem like it was an okay subject to do, to question Jesus.
I really didn't know what love looked like and how to show Mike love. I just thought it was rough for the first few years, because it was just a lot of fighting and arguing and bar hopping, and
I was at the bar a lot the first couple of years. It seemed like,
I mean, I knew that something had to give, but I didn't know what. I mean, I was ready to just get in the car and run away west and not look back.
I was in a bad place. And where I lived was on Cedar Shoals Drive, and every Sunday night I would see the sign go out. I'm like, what is this place? Athens Church. It's a school Monday through Friday, but then Sunday there's a church here. And in this, I'm pregnant and I'm scared, but I would actually go by the church, and I wouldn't go in because it didn't feel right to be in it, because I knew that the choices I had made had brought me there. But I would pull around in that parking lot and I'd see all the cars there. And at first there were a few cars, and then there were a lot of cars some days. And I would sit in the parking lot and I would just pray, like, God, help me. Help me make the right choice.
there may be, several thousand people who are attending church in this city. There's over 100,000 who aren't, who don't wake up with any place to go. And we feel like God has specifically called us to create a place for them so that when they walk in for the first time, they feel welcome. When they walk in for the first time, they don't feel like anybody's looking at them based on what they have on or what sort of ink is on their body or what sort of piercings or whatever's gone on the night before. We hope that they recognize that we're just glad that they're there. And so we feel like God's called us to play that unique niche. And then to not just welcome them, but to introduce them to this relationship with Christ that, again, ultimately changes everything. Religion says, change and then come join us. But we believe that Jesus says, just come join us and then you'll change. And so that's the kind of church that we want to be.
And I feel like it gives the opportunity for people to say, well, if church is not what I thought it was, maybe Jesus is not who I thought he was. And I see people who thought church was not for them feel totally at home here. And that's just crazy good.
About that time, a friend invited us to Athens Church. We had sort of given up on church. We had gone downtown. We didn't really fit in.
But eventually things got tough enough that I was willing to try something different, and I found myself walking through the doors.
That's when I first heard this message of grace preached clearly and easily and just in a way that I'd never heard it before.
There is a God that loves us so much that he sent his only son to die for us on the cross. Even for people like me who didn't believe, who turned their back on him, he died for me anyways, and he loves me anyways. And I've spent the majority of my life not following him, and he waited patiently and nudged and pulled, and finally, I listened.
And there was one message in particular that Andy Stanley taught. It was about a man who ran. And at that point, I'm sitting in the audience and it's like, that's what I've been doing. I've been running for 25 years. So, I grabbed, the hand of Jesus at that time and said, I'm in.
I'd always related success and worth on worldly things, money, cars, job mostly. And to be a part of a story that was bigger and greater than anything that, this world or possession had to offer, just lit my heart up. And I just feel like I was given life again.
I think because it was the recognition and realization that I didn't have to be this perfect, achieving, people-pleasing woman anymore. I was just God's kid, and he loved me. And for me, that felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. And I think that's the great thing about Athens Church is that that's what people are into is just really recognizing what we are and not, we don't really like perfect.
So when we went down to pick up the boys, I never will forget, and it was like totally mind-blowing to me, but both of them said, can we come back next week? And I thought, how awesome is that my kids are gonna lead me to faith. And so ever since that Sunday, we've been coming back.
In our estimation, one of the unfortunate realities that a lot of churches are facing right now is they have a real aging demographic and they just haven't figured out how to connect with the younger generation. And we've decided to do two things. Number one, we've decided that we're going to pour a ton of time, effort, energy, and resources into reaching the next generation. And so really the best thing that happens around here on Sundays is what happens with kids.
It's usually the other way around, where all the money and time and effort is invested into the adult service, and then the kids kind of get leftovers. It's the exact opposite, where they focus so much on children. I don't know what the budget is, but they focus so much, and kids are welcome. My kids invite their classmates, and it's not anything nerdy or anything like that. They invite their classmates to church.
If Athens Church wasn't here, I don't even want to think about where our life would be. I don't think we would honestly be together. I don't know if there is any other substitute for Athens Church.
It's bleeding through. What's happening here is bleeding through our life and in my business's life and in the people that work for me. It's like servant leadership, which I never
would have ever thought that that would have been something that I would have been able to start doing.
Think about this Athens church family dynamic, and the thing that has changed me has been this group of people that, I mean, right now there's probably 150, 200 people that I've met over 10 years that I've had deep, meaningful conversations with that have formed me. And there's 100 of those are people I could look at and say, I want to be like you when I get older. I mean, I'm 24 now, and I'm still saying, I'm like, hey, I want to be like you in 10 years. In 15 years, I want to be like you.
Athens Church isn't just affecting the children the children or the adults that attend here. It's affecting this whole city.
Can't wait to see what we're going to do in the next 10 years, because I know how my life has been touched and some of the people around me.
Athens Church is a safe place. That's like the resounding words of my heart about Athens Church. It's a safe place. No matter where you are, no matter what your situation is or what you're coming from, what you're dealing with, it's a safe place to land.
I mean, to me, it's community, it's life.
You're welcome. This, you found a home.
It's where I met Jesus. I can't put it in words. Just come. Just come. You're welcome wherever you are in life. Wherever you are.
Man, when I hear these stories, it's overwhelming for me. It's so humbling that God has let me, in spite of my story, be a part of this. I honestly can't believe it. And so I celebrate like crazy the first 10 years, but I genuinely believe we're just getting started. The movement that we call Athens Church can absolutely change the city. The reason I know is because I've already seen it happen in small individual scales. You see, changing a city is not about changing a mass. It's about changing individuals. And as those individuals encounter Christ, that's when a city is changed. You see, that's when a father becomes a better father. That's when a businessman becomes an honest businessman. That's when a politician becomes someone that's looking out for their people. I just want to invite people to join us. I just want to say, I don't know what all your life is about, and I don't know what important things are happening, but I can't imagine anything much more important than locking your life with a group of people who are helping change people's eternity. And so I hope as many people as possible will join us with their whole heart.